My parents, John and Mary, were the kind of folks who believed in hard work and saving for a rainy day. They ran a small grocery store in town, and even though they hadn't gone to college themselves, they were set on me getting the best education possible. From the day I was born, they started tucking away money for my college fund. "I want more for you, Kimberly," Dad would say every night at dinner, his eyes serious but kind. "You're gonna be someone who makes a difference, you watch." Mom always nodded, wiping her hands on her apron. "That's right. You're gonna do great things, honey. Just you wait and see." They had me convinced, and I worked my tail off at school. When I got the acceptance letter from the prestigious College for Investment Management, you bet the whole town heard about it. There was a big party at our house, and everyone came by to congratulate me and wish me luck. College was a whole new world. It wasn't just the classes and the books, it was the people I met. One of them was Jason. I first saw him in the library, struggling with his finance homework. He was a couple of years ahead of me, tall, with a mop of unruly hair that always fell into his eyes. "Hey, need a hand?" I offered, after watching him scribble and erase the same problem for the 10th time. He looked up, startled, then grinned. "Could use one, yeah. This stuff's kicking my butt." I sat down, and we spent the next hour going through his assignment. He was smart, but a bit lazy, always looking for shortcuts. We became fast friends, and I ended up tutoring him for the rest of the semester. Our friendship turned into something more at a party towards the end of my first year. We were both a little drunk, and he kissed me under the starry sky. It was spontaneous, but it felt right. After graduation, we decided to get married. It was a modest ceremony, just close friends and family in my parents' backyard. I wore a simple white dress, and he wore a clean shirt and jeans. It was perfect for us. Life after the wedding felt like a fairy tale for a while. I landed a great job right out of college, thanks to my degree and a bit of luck. Jason had a tougher time finding something in his field, but eventually, he got hired at a smaller company. The pay wasn't much, but it didn't bother me. I was just happy we were starting our lives together, building our future. Life had a funny way of rolling on, and while my career was hitting high notes left and right, Jason seemed content just to coast. I wasn't bothered by the fact I was the main breadwinner. Heck, my job paid well, and I was good at it. I took care of the rent, groceries, and bills, and even splurged on nice things for Jason like the latest smartphone or those designer jeans he wouldn't stop buying. One lazy Sunday morning, I was flipping pancakes in the kitchen, the smell of coffee brewing in the background, when I broached a topic that had been on my mind for weeks. Jason was slouched at the table, scrolling through his phone, looking every bit the picture of relaxation. "Hey, babe, didn't you mention there's an opening in your department? Something about a project lead?" I asked, trying to sound casual as I placed a plate of pancakes in front of him. Jason looked up, a slight frown creasing his brow as he put his phone down. "Yeah, there is. But, nah, I didn't go for it." Surprised, I leaned against the counter, wiping my hands on a dish towel. "Why not? Sounds like a great opportunity to step up. More money, too." He shrugged, pouring syrup over his pancakes. "More money, yeah, but more headaches too. I'm fine where I am, Kim. Why hustle more when I don't have to?" I paused, trying to digest his words. "But don't you want more from your job? I mean, we could use the extra cash, start saving up for a house or something." Jason took a bite of his pancake, chewing slowly. "Look, Kim, I get that you're all about climbing up and stuff. But I'm okay here. Don't need the extra stress. I'm good." I nodded, although reluctantly. We ate the rest of our breakfast in silence, the weight of the conversation hanging between us. It wasn't just about the job, it was about our different views on ambition and growth. While I thrived on challenges, Jason was content with the status quo, and that troubled me more than I wanted to admit. One evening, I came home to find Jason sprawled on the sofa, game controller in hand. The living room was a mess, dishes piled up, and takeout boxes on the table. "Jason, can we talk?" I asked, the day's frustrations bubbling up. He paused his game, looking up with a sigh. Yeah, what's up? I gestured around the room. This. All of this. I've been at work all day, and I come back to this. And it feels like you're just not trying anymore, not here, not at your job. Jason put the controller down, his expression defensive. What do you want from me, Kim? I do my job, I pay my part of the bills. What more do you want? It's not about the bills, Jason. It's about us, our future. Don't you want more? Don't you want to grow, to build something together? My voice was rising, a mix of anger and desperation. He stood up, facing me. I am who I am, Kim. I'm not you. I don't need to be some big shot to be happy. Why can't you just accept that? The question hung in the air, heavy and harsh. I looked at him, really looked, and saw a man who was completely different from the ambitious student I once tutored. Somewhere along the line, our dreams had diverged, and I wasn't sure how to bridge that gap. The day the financial crisis hit was like any other. I was at my desk early, coffee in hand, ready to tackle the day's challenges, when whispers started buzzing around the office. By mid-morning, those whispers turned into full-blown panic. Our company, once a towering giant in the investment world, was crumbling, hit hard by a series of bad investments magnified by the market crash. I called Jason during my lunch break, my voice shaking as I tried to explain what was happening. Jason, it's bad here. Really bad. They're talking layoffs, massive cuts. I don't know what's gonna happen. Over the phone, I heard him take a deep breath. Okay. Just come home when you can. We'll figure this out, Kim. We always do. But as the day went on, the situation worsened. By the time I got home, I had already received the dreaded email, effective immediately, my position was terminated. Walking through the door that evening felt like entering a different world. Jason was in the kitchen, trying to make dinner, a rare occurrence. The smell of burnt garlic filled the air. He looked up, his expression anxious. So? What's the word? I dropped my bag and sank into a chair. I'm out. They let me go, Jace. Just like that. The pan clattered as he turned off the burner, coming over to sit next to me. But maybe it's not as bad as you think. You've got skills, Kim. Someone will snap you up in no time. But as weeks turned into months, his reassurances felt hollow. I sent out resumes, went to interviews, but nothing stuck. The feedback was always the same, overqualified, or not the right fit, or, the worst, doubts about hiring someone from a failed company. One evening, after yet another unsuccessful interview, I came home to find Jason on the couch, paperwork spread around him. He looked up as I walked in. Any luck today? He asked, trying to keep his voice light. I shook my head, tossing my keys on the table. Nothing. They don't want someone from a bankrupt firm. It's like I'm tainted or something. Jason pulled me down next to him, wrapping an arm around my shoulders. It's just a rough patch, Kim. You'll see, this will pass. The following weeks were tough. We pinched pennies, skipped meals, sold off things we didn't need. Jason tried to stay positive, but I could see the strain on his face, hear the worry in his voice when he thought I was asleep. One night, as we sat in the dark, saving on electricity, Jason broke the silence. Maybe I should look for another job. Something that pays better. That night, we made plans. Jason would start looking for additional work, anything that could help. And I would keep trying, keep pushing, sending out more resumes, reaching out to contacts, anything to get back on track. Months had dragged, I'd been ready to take any job that came my way, even pondering over positions that were a far cry from my field, like working retail or waiting tables. But Jason, well, he didn't budge. He never found a second job, and to be honest, he didn't even look for it, his promise remained only words. One chilly evening, I came home, my feet sore from pounding the pavement, looking for work. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. That's when I noticed Jason sitting at the kitchen table, papers strewn about. He didn't look up as I dropped my keys on the counter. "Any luck today?" His voice was flat, almost indifferent. I sighed, pulling off my coat. "No, nothing. How about you? Did you look into that part-time job you mentioned last week?" Jason scoffed, a bitter laugh escaping him. "Why should I bust my ass when you can't even land a simple job?" His words stung, a slap to my face. "I'm trying, Jason. You know how tough it is out there. I've applied everywhere, even places I'm way overqualified for." "Yeah, right. Overqualified." He rolled his eyes, pushing the papers toward me. "Look, Kimberly, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm done footing the bill while you play job seeker. It's draining my accounts. You're turning into a real parasite, you know that?" I froze, his words slicing through me. "Parasite? After all those years I supported us? Are you kidding me, Jason?" He stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. "I'm dead serious. I can't bankroll your life anymore. I'm not wasting my money on this, on us." Before I could respond, the door swung open, and in walked a woman I'd never seen before. She was younger, maybe too young, with a smug look plastered on her face as she clung to Jason's arm. "Who is this?" I asked, my voice trembling. Jason grinned, a cruel twist to his lips. "Meet Lila. She's the future Mrs. Jason. Young, beautiful, and actually worth my time and money." Lila giggled, eyeing me up and down. "Oh, Jason, stop. You're going to make the poor thing feel worse." The room spun as their laughter echoed off the walls. I felt sick, my heart pounding in my chest. This couldn't be happening. Jason pulled out a stack of papers from the mess on the table and slapped them down in front of me. "These are divorce papers, Kimberly. I want you out, tonight." I stared at the papers, the words blurring before my eyes. "This is it? After everything we've been through?" "It's over, Kimberly." Jason's voice was cold, detached. "Sign them. I want a clean break." Numb, I picked up the pen and signed my name, each stroke a nail in the coffin of our marriage. Lila whispered something in Jason's ear, and they both laughed again, a sound so harsh it could cut glass. Without another word, I grabbed a suitcase, threw in some essentials, and left the apartment. The cold evening air bit at my face as I walked, no destination in mind, just away. Away from the betrayal, the hurt, the life I thought we had built together. It wasn't long before the hunger I had ignored during my dazed wandering made itself known, gnawing at my insides. There was an Italian restaurant at the ground floor of an apartment building nearby, a place I'd frequented enough to know the menu by heart. Pushing the door open, I was greeted by the warm, inviting smell of garlic and tomatoes, a stark contrast to the chill of betrayal outside. As I slid into my usual booth, Maria, the owner and a woman I'd come to admire for her fiery spirit and sharp business sense, approached with a concerned look on her face. Maria wasn't just any restaurant owner, she was someone who had turned a small diner into one of the busiest spots in the neighborhood. "What's wrong, dear?" Maria asked, her voice laced with genuine concern as she handed me the menu. I tried to muster a smile, but failed miserably. "Oh, it's nothing, Maria. Just a rough day." Maria sat down opposite me, her eyes sharp. "You look like you've lost your last friend, Kimberly. Talk to me." The floodgates opened. Before I knew it, I was pouring out everything, the job loss, Jason's betrayal, the divorce. It all spilled out in a messy torrent of words and emotions. Maria listened silently, her expression turning from concern to something fiercer as I recounted the details. When I finished, she reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "This Jason is a fool," she said bluntly. "And you, my girl, are better off without such a man." I wiped away a tear that had managed to escape. "I guess so. But what do I do now, Maria? I've got no job, barely any money, and nowhere to live." Maria tapped her fingers on the table, her gaze thoughtful. "You know, I've been looking for a manager for this place. Someone who understands hard work and has a head for business. Someone like you. I blinked, surprised. Me? Manage a restaurant? Yes, you. Maria affirmed with a nod. I've seen how you handle yourself, your attention to detail. You're perfect for the job. And about a place to live. She paused, giving me a sly smile. I own this building. There's a small apartment upstairs. It's yours if you want it, half the usual rent, if you take the job. The offer was more than generous, it was a lifeline. Maria, I don't know what to say. Thank you. Yes, I'll take it. Thank you so much. That night, as I ate a plate of the best spaghetti I'd ever had, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. For the first time in months, there was a spark of hope. The food tasted like a promise, each bite reaffirming that maybe, just maybe, I could start over and rebuild something even better than before. Managing Maria's restaurant turned out to be more than just a job, it was a crash course in resilience and creativity. The work was tough, sure, and the long hours often left me drained, but every challenge was a chance to prove myself. I threw myself into every aspect of the business, from tweaking the menu to optimizing our supply chain. But where I really made my mark was in marketing. I had a knack for it, dreaming up wild promotions and viral social media campaigns that had people lining up down the block. One of my ideas was to create theme nights based on different regions of Italy. We'd feature special dishes and pair them with the perfect wines. It wasn't long before our Taste of Tuscany nights were booked solid weeks in advance. I also started shooting behind-the-scenes videos in the kitchen, showing the care and passion that went into our dishes. These clips did wonders, pulling in a crowd that was eager to experience the magic for themselves. After a couple of years, the restaurant wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. That's when Maria called me into her office for a talk that would change everything. Kimberly, she started, her tone more serious than usual. I'm getting older, and running this place is getting harder by the day. My son, as much as I love him, has no interest in the restaurant world. He's happy on the other side of the country, doing his own thing. I listened, unsure where this was leading. She took a deep breath. I want to expand, open more locations. But I can't do it alone. I need someone I can trust, someone with a sharp mind and a passionate heart. I felt my pulse quicken, sensing what was coming. I want you to be my partner, Kimberly. Not just a manager, but a half-owner of what I hope will be a whole chain of our restaurants. The offer took my breath away. Maria, are you sure? That's a huge deal. She smiled, her eyes twinkling. I've never been sure of anything. You've turned this place around. I know you can do even more. Without a second thought, I agreed. Yes, absolutely yes. And just like that, I wasn't just managing a restaurant, I was co-owning a chain. With Maria's guidance and my ideas, we started planning our expansion. Within a few years, we had locations popping up across the city and even in other states. Our brand became synonymous with quality and innovation. 5 years after my divorce, I was more than just back on my feet, I was on top of the world. I even managed to buy a beautiful house, the kind I had always dreamed of as a child. It was more than a home, it was a symbol of everything I had overcome. My parents, who visited often, couldn't hide their pride. We always knew you were meant for great things, my dad would say, his voice thick with emotion. There I was, in one of my restaurants, chatting up a storm with Mrs. Bianchi, an elderly regular who loved our spaghetti with cheese more than any other dish we served. She was in the middle of telling me about her grandkids when the door swung open and in walked a ghost from my past, my ex-husband, Jason, and his wife, Lila. The moment Jason saw me, a big, mocking laugh erupted from him. He pointed right at me, drawing the attention of the entire restaurant. Look, everyone. Kimberly here used to be a big-shot investment manager, and now she's just a waitress in some cheap diner. His voice was loud enough to bounce off the walls. Lila chimed in, her voice dripping with disdain. Yeah, look at her. What a loser, serving dishes in a place like this. So much for all that education, huh? The restaurant went quiet, all eyes on us. Heat rushed to my face, not from embarrassment, but from the simmering anger I felt boiling inside. Just as I was about to step up and put them in their place, Mrs. Bianchi stood up from her chair, her frail frame rigid with indignation. "Actually," she began, her voice surprisingly strong, "Kimberly owns this restaurant. Not just this one, but several others across the country. She's one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the city, recognized just last month for her achievements." The color drained from Jason's face as he turned to see an entire restaurant staring at him, not with mockery, but with respect for me. Mrs. Bianchi wasn't done, though. She leaned in closer, a sly smile playing on her lips. "And just so you know, I live next to this sorry excuse for a man. He's nothing but a drunk, constantly getting fired from his jobs. So, who's the real loser here?" The room was thick with tension, everyone waiting to see what would happen next. Jason, now red as a beet, grabbed Lila's arm, muttering something about leaving. But Lila, ever the one to need the last word, snapped. "We came here to eat, and we will. Let's just sit down." I finally found my voice, cool and steady. "Of course, you can dine here. But just so we're clear, for the pleasure of serving you both tonight, the tip will be 50%. Lila's eyes bulged, her mouth snapping shut as if she'd bitten into a lemon. "I'm not paying a quarter of my salary for some noodles." Without another word, they turned and stormed out, the jingle of the doorbell marking their swift exit. I watched through the window as they got into an old, beat-up car, a stark contrast to the success and stability I had built for myself. The restaurant burst into applause, a few customers whistling and cheering. I couldn't help but smile, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. Maria, who had watched the scene unfold from the sidelines, came over and gave me a tight hug. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered, like a mother to her daughter. "You handled that better than anyone could." It had been a couple of weeks since the encounter with my ex-husband, and the restaurant was bustling as usual. I was going over the inventory in the back when one of our servers came up and told me there was a customer who specifically asked for me to serve him. Curious and a bit amused, I wiped my hands on my apron and headed out to the floor. There he was, sitting alone at a table near the window, a young man with an easy smile and eyes that seemed to light up the room. He looked up as I approached, his smile widening. "Hi, I heard the service here is exceptional, especially when Kimberly is serving," he joked as I handed him the menu. I laughed, playing along. "Well, we aim to please. What can I get you?" He ordered a coffee and the daily pasta special, his gaze lingering on me a moment longer than necessary. "So, does the owner always serve the customers personally?" I raised an eyebrow, surprised. "Not usually." "How did you know I was one of the owners?" He chuckled, a sound that warmed the entire room. "I know all about you. My mom has told me a lot. I'm Alex, by the way." The pieces clicked into place. Alex, the son Maria had often spoken about, the one who lived across the country and had little interest in the restaurant business. Just then, Maria came bustling over, her face lighting up when she saw Alex. She threw her arms around him, then turned to me with a mischievous twinkle in her eye. "Kimberly, isn't my son just handsome? I keep telling him he should visit more often." We chatted for a bit, the conversation easy and flowing. Alex was charming and funny, and I found myself enjoying his company more than I expected. As the evening drew on, he helped me close up the restaurant, insisting on learning the ropes. "Maybe I should get involved with the family business after all," he joked as he wiped down tables. Maria, who had been watching us with a keen eye, seemed pleased. "You two make a good team," she commented as we locked up. Over the next few weeks, Alex became a regular fixture in my life. We went out a few times, and each date was better than the last. He was thoughtful, always bringing flowers or a new book he thought I'd like. It wasn't long before our casual outings turned into something more. One evening, as Alex and I closed the restaurant together, he stopped me by the door. Kimberly, these past weeks with you have been amazing. I know this might be fast, but I think I'm falling for you. I looked into his eyes, seeing the sincerity there. I'm falling too, Alex. He smiled, his relief palpable, and pulled me into a kiss right there in the doorway of the restaurant we both had grown to love. It was a perfect moment, simple yet profound.